in the past on how to pick keywords. And I want to make sure that everybody understands you need to have about 10 core keywords that really need to be breathed into almost everything you do. And when you sit down with a page and you go to build a page, you have to have those words basically in front of you. So I'm going to use my own site because it's hyper optimized. And I think it's going to give us the best way to go about this, so you can see that everything that you have to do from start to finish. So my website, I wanted to rank on Houston SEO, SEO expert, Houston web design, Houston social media, digital marketing, website penalty recovery is a different thing. But my biggest things are Houston SEO, Houston web design, and Houston SEO expert. So that's what's in my head when I start to put together a web page for this particular website. So I've already done the keyword research. If you need to know how to do that, I do have some videos on that we can do that separately. I don't necessarily want to do all that tonight because we have some things that we need to do here. So the very first thing that you need to do is sit down after you have your keyword list, and I'd write them on a piece of paper and put them next to your desk. The next thing you need to do is go to Google itself and put those words into a search engine. Okay, so I'm going to use Houston SEO for my little search engine-y thing to use here. And the first thing that I see when I look at this is I see ads, so I'm going to throw them out and not count them. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to notice that there's a map. So that's going to be a signal to me that I need to use local SEO. For tonight's exercise, I'm going to push that aside just for a moment. But the fact that that is here tells me that that's a secondary strategy that I need to initiate. So I'm going to take some notes down, and I would write down Houston SEO is local as a map. Okay, so we know that. And I'm going to write that down. And I seriously am saying write it down on a piece of paper because this gets a little mind numbing. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look down the search results of my competitors and see who's actually there. And I have to do a little bit of mathematics on this, but we're going to be just like detectives and do some observation. So the very first thing that I notice is that Houston SEO are the first two words of each of the ones that they're putting here. If you notice, everybody says Houston SEO first. Okay, now here's the first one that doesn't. And we're going to throw out directories. So something like this, that's a directory. I don't want you to put that in your thought process, okay? The reason why is
move it over some. It's not right in the middle of your screen.
I don't know why it's not in the middle of my screen.
Well, I can't.
Oh, it's not in the middle of my screen. It's because of how I have my screen shared. I have my whole screen shared is why it's doing that. Okay. So is that better now, Sandra?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it better for everyone?
Okay. So if you come down here, you notice that every single one of these on the first page, the first two words are Houston SEO. So the first note that I'm going to make is I'm going to know that my title tag has to have Houston SEO as the first two words, because everybody has that. Okay. And this is about comparing what everybody has versus what I'm going to do. And the reason I say that is because I guess it's been about 2 years now, Google stopped evaluating your website as just your website. And in the grand scheme of it, they're actually looking at it up against who's in those spots. So if you wanted to replace somebody, you're going to have to somewhat do what they do. So we need to come up with the top 10 websites that are ranking on a term, throwing out directories. So if I did Italy vacations, you'll see there's Italy vacations, but then there's Costco vacations in there. Well, Costco vacations is not a true competitor. So I would throw Costco away and I would go to the next one. But the objective is to come up with the 10 top competing sites. So I can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to throw that one out. I got 7. I'm going to throw out Up City because it's a directory, 8. So I have 8 competitors on this first page. If I go to the second page, let me see what's on the second page. All right, there's a couple more. By the way, there we are. So there's a couple more. So I've got my 10. I'm going to pretty much stick who's on the first page. All right, so the first question I have is, how do I identify a directory? Eventually, we're going to click through to each one of these websites because we're looking for some certain attributes, okay? But when I look at, let me see, what's the first one that's a directory? This Clutch, I know they are, but it says top SEO companies in Houston. So I know that's a directory just by its definition. If I click through to it, here it is. It's all the high-end, it's the SEO companies, and I can see it's a directory. So that's going to tell me right out of the box to throw that one away. Okay. And the other one that here is, I also know top 25 Houston SEO companies. That's Up City. And you can see that there's a whole bunch of them over here on Up City. So we've got a few of them here that you can see. So that's how, just if it's a directory or something like, I'm going to use Italy vacations as an example for a minute and hope Costco pops up. See Costco travel. Where did it go? Here it is. So I would throw Costco travel out because at the end of the day, it's just package upon its featured deals. It's like hundreds of little vacation trips. It's all BS on a page. It's not anything that I would be able to use per se. And I would throw them right out of the equation. All right. So just have some common sense about it. If it looks like this, if it's a directory, don't include somebody along those lines if that's your situation. Okay. So, and I'll tell you why.
How do you
Huh?
identify a directory in the
That's what
result?
I'm answering. Yeah, that's the one I'm answering right now.
Okay.
Okay. As that's what we're talking about. So besides the fact that it says that it's the top 25, when I go to it, you can see it's a directory site. There's a couple reasons why I'm saying not to count it, because we're going to need to know what the word count is on each one of these pages. And sometimes the word count gets way off the charts. And then the other thing is, if you look, I have a little toolbar over here that's called SERPworks. And to me, this is one of my best friends in the whole world. So when I look at this, it says to me, there's 2,000 words on this page, but it also tells me that this website has 41,000 pages indexed. That's not a competitor of mine at 41,000 pages. Okay. There's no earth that I will ever live long enough on to have 41,000 pages on my website. I'm just going to say that up front. So I know that's not really a true competitor. So I'm suggesting to you that when you hit those, they're going to throw off your math. So you're going to want to pick, kind of want to pick the ones that look like you and not just these general situations. So the next attribute that I would write down on a piece of paper is, I would say everybody, the first words of their title tag say Houston SEO. So I'm going to write that down because I now know that every one of these has that attribute except for one. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click through onto these websites. And, I told you I have my little SERPworks tool here, and this is what I'm looking for when I do this. So this first one's going to come up. It's going to load it in. I'm going to look for the word count, which is 3,000 words. If you see where I'm pointing here on my screen. And then I'm going to look at this bar here, and it's going to tell me that there is 1 H1 tag, 22 H2 tags, 16 H3 tags, and 6 H4 tags. Okay. And what those are, and I'm going to show you how to execute this in a minute, but I need you to know what the mathematics are first. What these end up being are components of this page that are repeated multiple times. I need to know what that is, because what we're going to do is we're going to take these 10 websites, we're going to take the word count of them, and we're going to average it, and we're going to take each one of these H1, H2, H3, H4 components and average it. And they need to be averaged individually. All right. So the first guy we know, we've got 3,100. I've got one H1 tag, 22 H2 tags. And now I'm going to go to the next website. So this is simple math I'm giving you. I'm not giving you anything crazy that you don't know how to do yet. I'm just going to go through, and everybody learned averaging. So this should be pretty simple. So here comes the next one. It's SERPWorks. It's SERPWORX.com. And what that'll do is it'll let you quickly go through and touch all of these the way I am. It's cheap. It runs about $25 a month, and it's a really good tool to have because it gives you a lot of metrics about your competitors that I can quickly pick up, see what's going on with, and understand what's happening with. So I'm going to tell you that that's actually a really good one to go ahead and pick. Okay. So that's that question. All right. So this page, SERPWorks 25, there it goes. There you go. Thank you, Sandra. Okay. So this page now, so the first one was 3,100. This page now has 2,600. And if you notice, we go up here, it's got one H1 tag, 15 H2 tags. So our first guy had 22. This guy has 15, 8, and 0. And I think the other one was 16 and 1. Okay. So, and we're only going to take a little bit here. We're not going to go crazy and go through every one of them, but I need you guys to go through every one of them. All right. So here's the next one. Next one, 2,600 words. Okay. And then our H1 count are going to be 1 on the H1, 13 on the H2, 11 on the H3, and 17 on the H4. Okay. I'm going to go do this exercise, all 10 websites. If I take these right now, my average is 2,700 words is what I would say I would need to estimate. And what I find interesting right out of, before I jump out of the box at this thing, what I'm looking at is I'm seeing that we have very heavy on the H2 tags. Okay. So we have one H1. Everybody should have one H1. That's an unwritten steadfast rule. Okay. And then my average on these H tags are probably, without me doing the actual math, they're probably about 17. All right. H3 tags are probably about 17. And let's say the H4 tags are probably got a 0 in there. So that's about 10. All right. And okay, so Anonymous N2ND asked, what is an H1 and an H2 tag? What it is a headline tag. It's an old-fashioned headline tag from old school HTML that was out there a long time ago. And it was originally before WordPress and before, when people would write code by hand, if you put an H1 tag, the text was really big. If you put an H6 tag, the text was itty bitty microscopic that you couldn't even read it. And it's just old timey language. Well, Google has resurrected this. And because what they've recognized is a lot of web design companies have gone as far as to take that H tag and use it as design elements and not use it for what its intended purpose was, which is, if it was important, you would put it in an H1. If it wasn't important, you would put it in and they would go down over time. I cannot tell you how many websites that I pick up and the H1 tag reads click here. Okay. What it needs to be is your H1 tag needs to be Houston SEO. All right. So we're going to kind of go down that. So let's see. We got 2 more questions here.
Yeah. Did you see can you get this information another way instead of using SERPWorks? What are other options?
Other options to do that would be, and to me, it's way harder to do it. Okay. You could do it the old fashioned way and just look at the source code, which, is as simple as going view page source. and start crawling down that. But who the heck wants to go through that? Okay, so that would be one way to do it. I have a tool called Screaming Frog, and what it goes through when I run it, and I can run I left my entire desktop open so that if I needed to bring something up, I could, and we're not just wasting time jumping
Why do you
between
use
things.
SERPworks rather than Screaming Frog?
Well, because it's easier to me. I just have to do this. But on like if I had to do this with SERPworks, it's going to take me 20 minutes just to run this one website because this website's 500 pages. Excuse me, it's 2,200 pages. So it's going to take me a lot. Um, no, SERPworks, not SurfWorks. SERP, SERP. Here. There. I'm going to put it in the chat because that's the only way I know how to do it. Okay, so look at the chat window. It's SERP, SERP, works, WORX. Okay, so, all right. Answer live, answer live. I just think that I don't have a lot of time to be running people's hours worth of people's work to go do. So I'm happy to use this little tool to extrapolate what I want out of it, which is how many H1 tags and what is the word count of my competitors. So I now know roughly, and again, this is a lot more precise than I'm giving you because by the time I'm done doing 10, these numbers would change a little bit. Not all that much though, because if I come back to SEO 411, which I think where SEO 411 is a little weak right now is on the H2 tags, if I had to guess, but I'll show you that. So you see my word count is right on par with everybody else, 2,600. I have 2 H1s and I have only 9 H2s. So that's something we need to fix. I also have 19 H4s, which that's a little bit high based on what my competitors have. So I haven't touched the optimization on this page in a good, I guess it's been about a year because it was right after the pandemic started. So it must have been last April I did all of this. So I'm sure I'm slightly off on this, and that slight off put me at 13 instead of on the first page. So based on the averages I just gave you, my page is on right for page count, but you can see it's off here on the H1, H2, H3, and H4 tags, okay?
And
It's a
that's
little bit
literally,
high on H4 and it's a little bit low on H3. Go ahead, Sandra, I heard you say something.
and that's how many headlines of a certain size you have? That's what the
Yes,
H1.
and we're going to go through this. That's why we're doing this, because I want everybody to understand what are the mechanics. And sometimes this can take me to calibrate a page. This can take me up to 9 hours to do this, to do one page. Sometimes I'll be sitting here all day Saturday moving stuff around just to make this all work out right. Okay. But I want these guys to have general principles about what this is, because I guarantee you I can walk up on a website and none of this is on those pages. I have a large major corporation that they came and just to show you, this happens to everybody, right? So they came, they said, hey, we need you to come help us. And I was talking to their team, and the team said, well, we had this website and I made some change and my whole website disappeared and I don't know why. And they all blamed me for it, and I don't know. So I went home and I said, okay, this story is not all adding up in my head that you made a change in Google Analytics and your whole website disappeared. That doesn't sound right to me. So I went home, and within 30 seconds, I realized what the problem was. They had none of these elements on the page. Not one of them were on the page. So you can't not have these elements, because by not having these elements, I literally fixed these elements on one page and the page went from 39 to the first page of Google. So that's how important this mathematical computation is. Now, let me tell you something else that's going on here. See, now she's moving. She wants to get put on the floor now. So see, Sandra thought my dog was fake. Anyway, anyway, the other thing is there's what used to be called, what is it still is, keyword density. Okay. And it's how many times does a keyword appear on the page? All right. So as we're doing these audits of these web pages, we are going to want to see how many times Houston SEO appears on the page of these people. Okay. So let me come back over here and let's go back to this page. So I can do a quick spot check on this page, and I see it here. I see it here. I see it here. I see it here. So what is that? 5, 6, 7. I bet you it's even in the text if I really looked at it. Okay, but this page here, let's say it's on this page 10 times. I told you it's 2,600 words, this page. The way you would figure out what your keyword density is you're going to say, okay, this keyword appeared on there 10 times. I'm going to divide it into 2,600. 1% would be 26 times. So they're at half of 1%. All right. And if I lose anybody, I need you to stick your hand up and tell you, because this is that important.
Why,
Okay.
why do we have to have the high density of the same words repeated over and over on just one page?
Okay, so what Google's looking at, and actually that's not very high. That number used to be as high as 8. It's now, it runs between 0.5 and 0.9, depending on, and in fact, sometimes it's not even on the page at all. That's why you kind of need to sit down and identify your words and look at this. All right. But Google's a mathematical, it's an algorithm. So what am I putting in so that I understand what I'm getting out? And what I'm giving you sort of is the mathematics of all of this, which is understand what your competitors have. It used to be that I could come into a classroom and tell you to do this 1% at a time, that your keyword had to be on the page 1% at a time. Okay. So in this case, it would be 26 times. But Google's kind of changed that a little bit, and it sort of varies from search term to search term how that manifests itself. So you have to look at your top 10 and decide what's there to then decide how many times you should put a word in a page. Okay, so I see I have more questions going on here. All right, he says, can you type in our business name so we can see where we are on the header count? Yes, if you put your business email, your website in here, I'll run it through for you. Do you want this search based on our industry? Yes, I actually want it based on your key term. So my first key term I took was Houston SEO. Okay, so that's the first one I took. And that's the first one that I wrote down. So, all right. So this is you, virtual tell CS, I guess is what this says. All right. So, all right, hold on. You guys are all going to throw these in at me. Hold on. All right. Go slow. We're only going to take a couple here. Huh?
That's a lot of businesses to check out. There's a lot of people here.
All right. So this, yeah. Yeah, so this homepage only has 600 words on it. So I can tell this virtual tele customer service page is already short because it's only got 600 words on it. And so this little SERPworks thing here on this, what it'll do is if I click on the ones that are detected, it tells you what they say, okay? So you notice I just clicked on this one and it says her H1 tag says, providing administrative support for all businesses. Try our smallest plan today. So what I like to do when I teach these, if you ever have seen me do this in person, to me, this is like walk into a room and just say something to somebody like they don't know what you're talking about. So if I said this and walked into a room and said, providing administrative support for all small business, for all size businesses, try our smallest plan today. Can anybody tell me what I'm talking about? No, you can't tell me what I'm talking about because that says nothing. So this website, and I'm going to be vicious. So if you put your stuff up here, understand, I'm going to give you the answer, and it's not going to be like clearly politically happy, whatever. Okay. This is a horrible H1 tag because it doesn't tell you anything about anything. So Google has no idea what this website's about. So you are screaming, hey, Google, I don't want you to know anything about me. Our smallest plan today. That's what you're screaming. Okay.
Yeah. So how
If
does
I
she?
go to the if I go to the H2 tag, we have 5 of them, core features. So walk out of a room, walk in the room and say somebody core features, and you find out what you think that's about. Or contact us if you have questions. That's what you want to rank on because this is what you're saying when you do this, okay? As opposed to other people. So each one of these H1 tags are wrong on this website. This website will never rank with these ever because this doesn't say anything about anything. Okay, which is probably why you're here. And I don't want anybody to be offended. So there's no hurt feelings in this room, I hope. Okay. All right. Okay, good. Okay, so that's the virtual. You guys don't have enough words and your H tags are all screwed up. All right. Let's see who else threw something up here. Scrubs to the rescue. All right. Well, come on. He's starting to talk, Sandra. We woke him up. I hear him back here. He's running his little Harley head. See, here he goes. I knew it was coming. Hold on a minute. Come here. Come. Come on. Hey, you can't do this. Go away then. All right. Well, hope he's going to be quiet. Otherwise, he does this all the time to me, and I don't really know why. All right. So let's go back to the next person. So you see why this tool is so valuable because I can just stick this in and kind of just know if it's a good job or a bad job. So this says, how long should the H1 tag be? 2 words, your biggest word that you wanted. Notice I started with Houston SEO. Yeah, that should be your H1 tag. On mine, I think it's the title tag across the top of the page, but hang on a minute. So this one here is, this one's 840. You got no H1 tags, 1 H2 tags, 3. So this one, Google has no idea what this website's about. Let's go look at this one. I don't know what this says, skip break. Somebody says, can we lose skip break window? Oh, mine. I can't help that. It's just going to put up that. Okay. All right. And the other thing it just did is hollered at me. This website said it's unresponsive. So there is that problem also. All right. So live answer. So this website, let me reload it and see if it'll come back. Okay. So as we look at these, I can look at each one of these and tell you exactly what's wrong with each and every one of these suckers. All right. Yeah, this website's even taking too long to load. It can't even load it right. All right. So you guys have a hosting problem on top of everything. All right. So
Well,
let's,
you know, she's a graduate and from our business plan competition, and she won one of your in-kind prizes.
well, she just needs to call my hosting company then and we'll fix that part of it. Because we give you a free year of hosting. This thing is so far off, it's not even loading right. Okay, so this one says no H1, so there's no massive headline there. This one says buy online or pick up in store. Well, lo and behold, we have found Amazon. Look at this. Okay. And oh, by the way, you have no title tag on your homepage. Your homepage just says title tag is homepage. So that's no good. So this says your favorite subscription style. So you're a pharmacy. So what I want everybody to do is like read these as if you have no idea what this says. Take the style builder selection. So you're David Wheatley Holmes. And then this says enroll in your subscription every 3 months and never have to shop and search again. So you are back to being Amazon, and yeah, so every 3 months I can have a subscription. Again, you tell Google nothing, okay?
So she sells scrubs.
Yeah,
So
nowhere is the word scrubs here. You see that? The word scrub is nowhere. Find the word scrubs in anything I've shown you.
So she has to have scrubbed in a lot of her headers. Is that
Yes.
okay?
Yes, that's exactly where I'm going. So hold on a minute. So we come back here, we go here. All right. Why SEO, Houston SEO experts. There it is in that one. Houston SEO experts. There it is here. I already told you that I wanted Houston SEO and Houston SEO experts. You notice that my two H tags have that phraseology of Houston SEO and Houston SEO experts in both of them. If you come over here, I have 9 of these, and these are not, some of these are not right. So SEO firm is correct. All right. So you notice I have not all SEO firms are created equal, but I was after the key term SEO firm. Okay. Award-winning service can go, guaranteed results can go. That's probably a piece of why I have a little bit of, I got knocked down a little bit, because these need to be tightened up. If you look, I have digital marketing. So you can read these and basically tell how we do SEO.
Right.
Okay.
So somebody said, do we change this on Google? But what you do is change things on your
We're
website.
going to change it on the website, and we're going to go through that. I actually have the editor pulled up, and I'm going to kind of show you this right out of the box. Okay. So as you come down on each one of these, you're going to notice that each one they tell website evaluation, free digital marketing SEO audit. I'm sorry for my dog. He's getting old and senile. I've come to the conclusion that he forgets where I am now. So, hello, what do you want to do? Go. You cannot keep disturbing the class. There you go. All right. All right. So, as you look down mine, you'll start to see. Now, this is the title of a blog. So, Google understand that's changing. SEO content. You see that this tells them what I do. And if you come down into here, you'll notice it again. Houston SEO services, web design and development for Houston, local SEO and Google My Business. You literally could pick up this piece of this website and absolutely at least have a clue of what I do. Okay, so I want everybody to understand why we're evaluating this. We're evaluating this because this is what they need to have. Okay. Every one of these pages needs to have a clear path to Google of what it is. All right, so let me see. If you get SERPworks, you should be able to do the same analysis about yourself. I'm trying to make sure I got everybody here. So this one says, I don't even know what this says. Let's see what this one says.
So they're not doing the service based on their industry necessarily. They're doing it based upon their services, right? Or their products.
Well, no, they need to do it based on their industry. That's the other problem. This one says homepage, scrubs to the rescue. What is that? Honestly, that name scrubs, sometimes that involves like union workers. So it may be people that are union work. I understand where they're going, but without any other frame of reference for Google has no idea what that website's about, because a scrub could be just as much as it can be as a replacement worker for a union person as it can be for an outfit I wear when I work in a doctor's office.
So is it
Okay, this one,
healthcare scrubs or something?
yeah, I mean, it needs medical scrubs, healthcare scrubs, scrubs for women, plus size scrubs. I mean, I could sit here and give you all the words for scrubs. I did a scrub site there 150 years ago. All right, this one here, this one says title tag only contains an image. So this one, cosmopolitus, whatever that word is, that's not a good word either. And then we have this. Best-selling, trending on, natural accessories, dramatic testimonials, recent posts, navigate categories. Yep. Nope. Anybody know this is about eyelashes? So I hope everybody understands kind of the point I'm trying to make here, is that when you do not put the right information in your webpage, Google has no idea, which is where 90% of all business owners fail at getting their website ranked. Okay. So somebody said, thank you, Sandra, for asking questions. Just so
I
you know,
like this question.
accolades for your question, Sandra. I just want to let you know that.
How
All
long?
right, so
How
here's
long?
another one.
Did you see that one? How long should the H1 tag wording be?
The shorter, the better, I think myself. I
So
mean,
the words in it are the more important thing, not how long it is.
yeah, yeah. All right, so here's another one. Every purchase is in honor of a hero, our Marines, my sons. Okay. Thank you for loaning us your sons and I appreciate their service. However, they have nothing to do with Google because you're not an army recruiter and you're not about a heroes and you're not a veteran site. Now let's go to the next one. Survive Soul Survivor, the next coffee black just like my soul. I mean, this is all nothing. It should say women's bracelets, men's bracelets, dog tags, whatever the heck it is you do. That's what needs to be here. Not all this. Let us, and then I'm hoping that this let your soul shine is done that way on purpose and not that somebody did a backwards cap locks and it's a typo. Okay, so there's that one. So this one, your word count is too short. So this is all the problems. But listen, guys, the one thing I'm not doing is going and looking at your competitors. So just understand when I'm saying some of this, this is just nobody's given me any that are well done. So just not, let's not be confused that think any of these are passable because none of you have done it, right? I hope you're all not mad at me. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. Hold on a minute. I mean, it's very much dog traffic. She's back again. All right. Let's see, this one says, I don't want to leave everybody out, but listen, guys, I have a whole lot to talk to you about tonight, and I can do this all night, or we can actually kind of go forward on where we need to go to. So I'm going to just kind of say this is the last one for right now. This one here is 300 words. So look, you guys need at least 900 words on a page. I'm going to tell you, you got to go look at your competitors. As I say 900, I'm at 2,600. If I put 900, my webpage would be at number 40. So this is why I'm kind of saying what I'm saying. You need to actually know what your competitors have. All right. And thank you. I appreciate it. That you're saying, if you knew how to do this, that's why you're here. And I just know that I've had some people that they get their feelings hurt when I tell them that it's like ugly baby, you tell somebody their baby's ugly and they get really upset. So yes, word count is a factor. So you need to make sure that you know how many the words are on the home page of Google. So you know how many words need to be on your home page. No, if you do it right. So this Jason just said, what bugs me is I feel like you have to clutter your website with words just to increase the word count. But if you do it right, it's not too overwhelming. Okay. And what I mean when I say that, if you kind of come back to us for a minute, and I mean, that's a common complaint. But the thing is, I'd rather rank on Google and have a little bit of clutter that I have to sort out than I have no people coming. So I have these little blocks here, but you guys can kind of scan that through. I broke this up. So again, you can scan through. I mean, you really only have to read award-winning service, guaranteed results, digital marketing survival guide. Not all firms are, if you want to read the stuff underneath it, that's fine. But if you notice, we've got big and bold and punchy so that how we do it with content, links, technical. Kind of what I'm telling you about tonight is more technical than anything. Why we are who we are. By the way, I took my own photo, so this is my own photo credit. So I would recommend doing that with you when you can, by the way. Because I was able to embed in there that it came off my camera, where it was, what it was. So it's a validation that we're actually in Houston because it was my camera that took the picture.
And Google notices that.
Google knows that. It can read the metadata in that file. And there's coordinates in that file. I know that's creepy sounding, but that's purposely why I did that. That's my photo that I took standing on the corner of Preston and Main Street. And I did that on purpose. All right. And the one thing I like about it is it's Houston, but it has that small town feel to it all at the same time. And Houston's pretty unique that way. All right, hold on a minute, Sandra. I lost the window with the questions in it. Here it is. Hold on. Maybe that's it. Yep. Here we go. All right. Possible to use transparent. No, 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 no. Never, ever, ever, ever use transparent text. That equals you will be banned for your entire life for Google. Okay. So do not do tricks. All right. So um, this one says our store is in Shopify. I am not even going to have a Shopify because Shopify doesn't do SEO well. So it's not even a, I don't even want to touch that one right now. You really can't improve SEO in Shopify. It's not,
Wait, but
they're
if they, if,
trying, but it's not. I mean, we've done whole classes on why not to use these cookie cutters. So I don't want to get that out in that rat's maze because that'll go on. I'd like to kind of stay on topic with this, guys, because there's a lot to do. We've only gotten to the first 10 minutes of what I do when I sit down on a page. So, all right. So
can I at least ask for
go for it.
on that person's behalf, if they're on Shopify, can they still create a website that then leads to
Won't rank.
Shopify?
It won't. It Sandra, it won't rank. So it's like
All right.
having, it's like, hey, if I win $1 million and I bought a Ferrari, can I drive it around Houston? Yes, but you're never going to make $1 million to have the Ferrari in the next week. So let's not talk about that right now. That site will not rank. And I think this is why I don't even want to, and they know that. I mean, she's heard me say that before, so it's not like it's new information to her. I don't think. I mean, you've been around me long enough to know what my opinion is. So yeah, it's not a workable thing. Now, what I will say is Shopify put out some documents that's apparently it's kind of getting in their head that people are starting to understand that you can't do it. So therefore, they're putting out some things saying, "Oh, look, we did this, but I'm not there yet to go." Anyway, no, GoDaddy is a no go as well. No, absolutely. All right, let's see. Okay, so we understand how to see what our competitors are doing and formulate what we need. So before you can do anything, you have to understand what you need. So what I know I need on SEO 411 right now is I know that I need 2,600 words. I know I need so many H tags, and I know kind of where I need to go with that. Okay. All right. This says, what was the last no? Same color text, invisible text, no invisible text ever. Okay. That's like the worst thing you can do ever in the history of everdom. Okay. That's like 1998 calling. They want their website back. Don't do that. Okay. All right. So I come down. So now I have some ideas in my head of what I need to do. And what I don't know, because I didn't do this as we went through them, but I think you need to, I need to go and take a couple of these pages and I'm going to show you what they are. So hold on. I'm going to use this one here. Let me use this window here. So Houston SEO. So I am going to go to this guy here. I'm going to pull up his website. Blog should be named a blog.
So someone's
I
asking
see
if
the
they're
question. That's completely off topic, but the blog should be named a blog. Go ahead, Sandra.
if they are on Shopify, then it's the rest of the digital marketing clinic for them, or should they just leave? That's what someone's asking right now.
Well, you need to understand the principles, but the problem is you're going to need to make some adjustments because if your goal is to get down this road, you're kind of what you're doing. Okay, so here's the question. Can I win a race with a Chevy Chevette? Okay. The answer is yes. Okay. But you have to know about all the other people around you, what they're doing. And then you have to be willing to hope that something else happens to one of those other people. But I think you need to know everything that we talk about. Eventually, you need to make the decision not to be on Shopify. That really should be the real decision of where you go. Not, hey, I can't do this, so I'm going to walk away. If your goal is to get traffic from Google and run your business off of Google, you need to have the right tools. So I feel like that's the wrong premise, which is, hey, I shouldn't be here because it's not going to work. It's going to be, what do I need to know to make it work? And then what changes do I need to make? Okay. Is that a good way to answer that, Sandra?
Yeah, but if somebody leaves Shopify, is there a way for people that used to know where they were on Shopify, how to find them somewhere else?
All right, so that's a whole different question, okay? Because it's not like if you leave Shopify, you need to get somebody that knows how to get you out of Shopify and save what you have, push it out into WordPress and go on about your day. You can't just, that's what you need. So it's just a simple export, and then I mean there's several different ways you can handle that, and depends on how big it is. Um, Jeremiah said, "What's the best hosting sites?" I'm going to defer from that because at the end of the day, I actually own a hosting company. So I own a hosting company because everybody else was terrible. So that's probably the best way to say that. That's how that happened, because I would call people and they wouldn't give me support and wouldn't do what I wanted to do. So I have a really bad habit of, if somebody argues me enough, I go, fine, I'll do it myself. And no, it's not. You can go wherever you want and host your website. Not at all. Okay, so at the end of the day, which is why I don't like the web hosting question. Back to you with this, the Shopify question. I think you have to understand what you need to do and then figure out how to make your business work inside of it. Because I do not think any small business can ignore Google. You almost have to do it at your own peril. And that's where I always have a problem with some of these companies, because to me, it's almost like, and Squarespace, I feel the same sort of about Squarespace. At the end of the day, they're making it sound like it's easy, and it's something that you can do. But at the end of the day, it sort of sets you up not to have success in the digital world. It allows you to have that brochure, but it doesn't allow you to go to the next step and actually be able to compete, because you're not going to be able to compete with somebody like me on Shopify. And the people that are in those number one spots have people like me employed. So it becomes a, I'm giving you how to do this without me. And I see my friend Jacqueline's here. Jacqueline's been with us probably 11 plus years. She's been coming to this class. I think it's been 10, it's got to be like 10 years at this point. All right. It's a long, long time. She started with us at U of H many years ago. So the thing is, you can take this information and utilize it and implement it. This question said, how can I use these techniques with Google My Business? You can, because if you notice, the word Houston's involved here, and that's what the trip and the trigger is on some of the Google My Business stuff. If you are on the west side of town and you Google Houston SEO, I've been coming up in late in that map pack in the first three, because of my Katy freeway office is coming up there. My Kingwood office, where I am tonight, it won't do it. But if you're on the west side of town, we actually appear in the map pack. So because of logistics and stuff. I do not really want to turn this into a Shopify good, bad, WordPress good, bad. I need you to understand the mechanics of it. We can, Sandra, do we need to, at some point, I guess we could do another why we don't want to, what website builder and how to do all of that class. I think we could probably do that again in the fall. We haven't done it for a year.
Okay.
All right. But I just can see this going down the, why don't we need to be in Shopify road? And I don't really want to go there.
Well, did you see that question about YouTube?
Yeah, YouTube's a good deal. I mean, that's I'm good. I'm good with YouTube. And I mean, for me, I have a whole YouTube channel now. So if you come up here, this whole digital marketing clinic and the pandemic did force me to do something that I said I was never going to do, which was put these classes on the internet. So if you hold on a second, we have a whole YouTube channel of digital marketing clinic of me talking here in my house and telling you how to go do all of this. So I would say, yes, it really does. And what I'm going to tell you is that Google views you more of an expert when you have these things baked into your website. So it helps promote your business simply by putting these things in and pulling them in that way. So I'm all for a YouTube channel. But if you do it, make sure you did what I did, which is suck it through to your own website so that people can watch it off your own website and you get that credit. There's a symbiosis between the two. Okay. So that's kind of a side question per se. But yeah, so hold on a minute. Let me get all these questions. Yeah, Google owns YouTube. That's the exact answer to that. Hang on a minute. I need to click down these. How do you find it? We answered that. We answered that. We answered that. I just need to clear these all out so I can see, make sure we got everybody in, because I want to make sure I get everybody's questions, but I don't want to get too far off subject.
So while you're doing that, for instance, YouTube, if you have a web page where you're putting one YouTube post and then another one and another one and another one,
Yeah, just
that's
like
the right
this.
way to do it, right?
Yeah, just like this. What I did is I pulled a grid of my classes in. I did it this way because it does it. When I first started this page, there was 3 videos because I did it March of, before we did this. I swore I was never going to put this on the internet. Swore I was never going to do it. The best thing that ever happened to me from the pandemic side was it forced me to do this. And I just said to you the other day, we're never going to go back to not having this. At least that's my opinion, because this video series and this situation has been well worth it. So if you can do something like this, please do, because it's really that, it's that beneficial. Now, it doesn't have anything to do with, I'm talking about how to optimize a page, so let's not misunderstand. That's a whole different class about why I do this. At some point we will talk about authority and trust, and we will do a whole class on that. That's another 4-hour topic that I got to go as fast as I can to squeeze into 2 hours. Okay. But for the moment, yes, if you want to do it this way, do it this way. I'm trying to get these all out of here. Is there any way to translate to the personal page or YouTube? Yeah, pull off of YouTube. The biggest thing I want you to walk away from YouTube is pull your YouTube channel into your own website. All right, hold on. All right. Yeah. See, everybody's saying, can we get back to the main topic? Yeah, that's what I want to do here. I'm trying, Brian. I'm really trying. I got, it's like herding cats sometimes. Okay. Yeah. So this one, yes, Constant Contact or MailChimp, it doesn't matter. It just depends on how much money you want to pay. All right. So that's good. Herding. Yeah. It's like herding cats. Just think about it a minute. Okay. All right. So let's come back. So we now have, oh, I didn't mean to do that. I hit something. It's now playing music. Okay. We don't want any music. No music. All right. So, yeah. Um, all right. So let's come back to over here. All right. So I now have an idea of how many words, what my H1s and H2 tags need to be. The next thing I need to do is go back to these competitors' websites, and you can kind of do it at the same time. You don't necessarily have to do this on your in 2 separate steps. I'm telling you in 2 separate steps because I wanted you to understand it. But when I come to see what these websites look like and kind of get a feeling, I also see what words are on the page. So this one says Houston SEO Services. So that's a good one. They appended the word company. So you know what? That's probably something else I need to do. Blah, blah, blah. SEO strategies not worth me putting in. Blah, blah, blah. SEO without anything here in Houston. They separated the terms so that SEO in Houston are 2 separate terms. Okay. Because they're varying their text to make this work. Okay. So then I'm looking over here. I'm going to close the SERPworks window for the moment. So I know that I can append company. It doesn't want to let me close it. So I don't know why it's not closing. Close to bar, go away. All right, good. It went away. All right. So now what I'm looking down is, and now it came back again. It's going to be like, there we go. Okay. So I already know that on my first page that was ranking, I kind of take a stock of what is on that page. This is not the page I was looking at. Hold on a minute. Okay. I take stock of the page. I understand what I'm looking at. I understand the adjunct words that are added to it. So you notice company is one, experts is another, which I already told you I want to rank on. So they were going for company. So you see it here twice. So it jumps out at me. So I want to consider writing SEO company into my pages. SEO services in Houston. That's another variant. So that's another one. And if you look at this page, the other thing I noticed is that it says Houston SEO Agency on it. So they actually went as far as to name their page, and they made a page that is optimized just for Houston. All right. Now, if I go back to their homepage, you'll see that their homepage is different. It is digital strategies. It is not optimized the way that other page is. But this page is for online marketing and digital marketing. And the reason I see it is I can see it jumping out and popping out all over the place at me. The other thing I see is the SEO word. So what I want you to do is go read these other people's websites and see what words they're baking in. They're number one. So they're in places that you want to be. So utilize their pages to decide what your keywords need to contain. Now, I don't necessarily agree with TopSpot because they went on down the digital marketing road and then took the um, Houston SEO and put it out on its own page. I can't say I'm super thrilled with that idea. Okay, but you can see what we did. Um, and go down each one of these, and you can come up with what your strategy needs to be. And then you see they have what is SEO. And if you look at to the guy that said I don't like cluttered pages, if you see what they did, they put them in boxes that can be collapsed. So they come up and they're collapsed. So they're there for Google, but they're not visible to the end user. So that's a good way to do it. And if you can see what is SEO, that's a very popular question. Why do I need SEO? Another popular question. How do I rank on the first page of Google? Another. So these questions are designed for Google to feed into that Google search engine. They support the rest of the page. They increase the word count. They check all the boxes, and they're allowing extra words to get in here. So I now know I need to add company, I need to add services, I need to make sure Houston, I need to use it in both directions. So if you kind of start following through, I can do this. And as you audit each one of these pages, I'm going to start to understand what each of these are about. Okay. And I'm literally, I'm going to show you, I have a notepad here, and if we can see it on my camera, I take notes on all of this so that I can go down when I sit down to go write my page. I can come up with a way to write the page and do it in a way that it works for me. Okay. So understand where we kind of are on all of this and how this is working. So here's a few other things that I see looking at this, besides the fact that it's in the title on the title tag. I also see that it's in the breadcrumb trail, and then I see SEO services and SEO company all over the place. So what I'm going to do is go to somebody like Regex, because they were there. I'm going to kind of look down him, Houston SEO company. There's that company word again. Okay. And here's the word agency. Okay. Marketing company. So you see how each one of these, they're handling it a little bit differently, but these are variants of what you need to have. I see it here. I see it here. I see it here, and there's services. So he's balancing out Houston services and company. Okay. So now let's come up. What are we at? 709. So I don't want to like take too long here. All right. So we're going to come back over here. So I opened my page editor, and we're going to kind of talk about this from my page editor standpoint. And my keyword is Houston SEO. First of all, if you're using WordPress, please use Rank Math as your plugin, okay, for SEO help. So it's a on-page grader. Don't hold it. Don't take it to gospel. You need to do the mechanics of what I just sat and did on each and every page, okay? Because without that, this is not evaluating what's around you. This is just basic principles, which is the page should be over 900 words. The page should have a keyword density of 1. It should have at least one H1 tag, one H2 tag, one H3 tag. What I am showing you is how to get to the actual number of what you should have, not just some general variant, if you will. Okay, so I hope everybody's still with me on that. I left and came back. I think you can see my name now. Okay, all right. Yes, I can see your name now. That's good, because you were anonymous user 1 or something. All right. Okay, so the first thing that I do when I come in here is, and I'm going to tell you, this is going to look messy to you, but it's just, this is the way it is. So the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to address what I want my title tag to be, okay? And I want my title tag to be Houston SEO, and I'm going to put experts. But what else I'm going to do is this little doomaflachi here. Because remember, we kept seeing the word company. I'm going to stick it here, because even though I've got Houston SEO experts, I can put web design company, and I have Houston SEO company, web design company, digital marketing company. Just by simply parking that company there, what I'm doing is forcing it to recognize the word company in my title tag. So I just expanded ever so slightly by jimmying that word in there. I've now added that much to this whole situation. Now it's going to tell you it's a little long, and really what can get chopped off is that. And I think if I did that, it would start to bring me back very close to being where I want it to be. But I want that penalty recovery into this, because and actually, do I want to say, I want to say website recovery. Yeah, actually, I'm going to take it off. We're just going to take it off and see where the chips fall. Okay, we're going to leave it that way. So we see I'm closer to my 60, because we don't want this to be too long. That 60 number is pretty well right. Okay, so when I write my title tag, that's the most important thing that you'll write on any page on your website. Every web page should have a title tag. What I will tell you is all these ones that you all threw to me in an audit was terrible. I know somebody said, how about this for my title tag? Women's bracelets, fashion design jewelry, and it should be fashion, probably designer jewelry, because that word's going to get you a little bit. Again, I've had experience with a jewelry site, so it needs to be designer jewelry. That's just but yes, that would be a better, is that what you want to rank on, is women's bracelets and designer jewelry? If so, that works perfectly. Okay. Okay, so I now have a really strong title tag that covers what I want to cover. The one thing that's not covered here is the web hosting, but I don't want to dilute this too much. So I'm going to leave this what I think it is, and I think I'm happier with it that way. Okay, so I'm going to come to the next thing, and it's going to say Houston's leading SEO service and web and design. I'm going to take out the word. See, this is why this starts to take so long, because if I take out the leading, that's not going to make so much sense. But I really want Houston, and I actually know what to do. So you see what I did? I put the leading to the front of it so that Houston and SEO were right up against each other. And then what I did is I have the word service, and I have to decide, and I don't know the answer, but based on the competitors, I'm going to tell you company is probably the better word to put there. So I'm going to put the word company there. All right. And web design and development firm. We also are experts. And I'm going to change this around. So watch what I'm going to do here. So you see how I worked SEO experts back in here, but also we are not only SEO experts, but also, and I'm not going to put experts a second time. I'm just going to leave that out. In social media, website, and I'm going to take this out because you notice it's too long again, and I'm going to change it to be your And if I do that, that will make sense. Okay. And if you see when we came up on this, this was actually a little bit off. I pumped it. The changes I just made knocked this up to 83. So I have a little bit better in my title tag. I've got a little bit better in my description. And I have all these metrics are a little bit better. So let's see what else my editor, and I'm doing this way to start with so that I can get this right. And then we're going to fine tune a little bit. Okay. Everybody's with me. We got no questions. We're good so far. Good. All right. They're all good, Sandra. All right. So what it's going to do is it's going to say we have focused keywords in my subheadings, which are those H1 tags that we talked about. And I'm going to go through that all with you in a second. It says add images to my focus keywords in an alt text. I am not going to do that. I am of the opinion of that, yes, you can do it, but it doesn't kill you not to. And sometimes I'm okay with this. So although my page is already sitting within the first 1 to 2 pages of Google, I don't know that that's going to help me. And I don't really need to spam keywords into my images. So I always kind of tend to leave that alone. That's just a preference. What I'll tell you is my keyword density is a little bit low because it's only saying Houston SEO 7 times. Those words appear only 7 times. So as we fix this copy, we're going to increase that 7. Okay. So we're going to do that. It says I'm linking other resources and I haven't used this before. That doesn't matter. There's also complaining at me about at least the one paragraph is too long. I'm not super worried about that either, but I want you to understand that these are just some basic guidelines for you to follow. If you're not on, like the lady with the jewelry, you're going to be up against competitive people. So your lift is going to be a whole lot different. My friends with the shea butter, yeah, they're selling a really specialized thing. So their lift is going to be a lot less. So if they were using all of this, they would have a little bit more forgiveness. Okay. Lashes are super competitive. All right, so we've got all this stuff here. So I'm going to come down now and I'm going to start working through this. So we know based on this that my keyword density is too low, and that I need to work Houston SEO into this copy. But we're just going to sort of pretend that I haven't done all this already. Okay, so you see my very first box says Houston SEO services. I'm going to leave that services. And I'm going to leave this digital marketing agency. And my thought process on doing that is that although I said company at the top, and technically this should be company, services is just as important as company. So I'm going to leave that alone. And we're just not going to mess with that just quite yet. Okay. I'm going to look at this paragraph and I see an opportunity. So what I'm looking for is the opportunity to add a few more SEO, Houston SEO services. No longer does having just a SEO service plan cover what is needed for blah, blah, blah. Okay, so no longer does having just cover what is needed to compete effectively. I don't really think I want to work that in there. I think I'm going to maybe leave this one alone. All right. So I've decided, I'm making the decision right now on the spot that this one is not enough to rock the boat to try to work that in. So I'm just going to not save anything on that one. I saw a light come on here. Should be. Oh, somebody's correcting my typos. Thank you. Because I'm like the queen. A, so where do you see it? Should be A, not N. Oh, I see you. No longer just having just a SEO service plan cover. Effective. Here, I'm going to do it this way. So you see how I worked that in? That should have a comma there. I'm not putting the comma. All right. So I want everybody to see what I did there is I actually I worked Houston SEO in, but I did it in the way that I'm using Houston as a proper noun, like a name. So face it, Houston SEO is very competitive. So in doing that now, I've now increased so I know I have 7 and I'm low. I've now have got 8. So when it recalculates it, it will do it to 8. Okay. Let's see what this next one says. This one says web design and development for Houston, and I am going to move this. This way, because really the term is Houston web design or web design Houston. And I'm going to go with this. Okay. So I'm going to stick that Houston web design there because I know I want to make that rank. So I'm going to make that change. By the way, if this page all blows up, we'll know in a couple days. It's either going to go up or it's going to go down, but I needed to do this anyway. So coordinating web design, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to make any more changes there. I'm going to leave that one alone. And I'm going to leave that one alone. So I've made a little bit of changes here in my first box. You can see that the focus keywords, and we've got a point now because it appears, you notice I went up 8 times. It's already factored my 8th time in. All right, so I hit it. So let's point out what I did here. Okay, so first of all, it is this is an H4 tag. Technically, I should make that an H3 tag. I'm going to tell you that much right now, that really, I did it. In fact, I'm going to do it that way. It should be that. And then it should be, let's go back to, you're going to let me go back to 12. I'm not going to make the change because you know what? I really need this to go, man, hell with it. I'll just change it here. All right, it's not going to let me do it. I'm going to have to go do this offline because otherwise I'm going to have to get involved with writing the code for that. But I'm going to make that an H3 and I'm going to make that an H3. I'm going to make this one and then this one an H3. These two I'm not so sure I'm worried about. Okay, so now I'm going to come down to my next row. So I've got to go see what my next row says. All right, I have this saying request a free no obligation website evaluation. And I may say, instead of a no obligation website evaluation, I may change that. I'm not going to do it right now, but I may actually change that to be a no obligation SEO and website evaluation to work the word SEO in there to get that up again. Okay, so understand what I'm doing. I'm trickling down here, trying to increase my density and get that word count up a little bit because I'm a little bit off based on where I am on some of this. Okay, there are many claims, blah, blah, blah. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to cheat on something. I want to show you what I'm going to do here because part of the reason I named the company SEO 411, I have to explain this to you. This is how much thought has gone into all of this. All right. So we named it SEO 411 because we were looking for something with SEO in the name of it. But we ran the SEO and we put the 411 adjacent to the SEO. So Google never thought we were trying to spam the word SEO into any place we put our company name. But right here, I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna put Houston apostrophe S, and then I'm gonna split that because what I just did is put Houston SEO in again just by splitting the 411 off on its own. It'll help in a couple different ways. and again, I'm kind of talking through this with you so you understand how my mind works, so that your mind can kind of review this tape and go through it and go through and say, hey, wait up. Do I want to try this? Do I want to put it this way? Because this is the level that you need to be functioning on to be able to make these decisions. Now, what I will say is that so many people don't know how to do that, that even if you did what I said and did it wrong, but don't spam it out, you're going to be in a better spot than 99% of your other people. So just understand that I'd say a broke clock is right 2 times a day. But even if you didn't get all of this right, you're going to be in a much better spot than 99% of your competition. Okay. I am going to go here and on this guaranteed results box. Remember when we looked at my words before, I looked at that's an H2. I'm going to put guaranteed SEO results. 1. John Pham said, how many H1 tags? 1, not 2, 1. Okay. So if you notice, when we looked at all those SEO pages, every one of them only had 1. And there's been I'm going to tell you, the guy that runs Google's search department, his name is John, and he's come out and said there is no data that says that H tag can only appear once. But I'm going to tell you something. The SEO world, most people, 9 out of 10 people know, don't use it more than one time. And when you use an H1 more than one time, you run the risk of them lowering or demoting the page based on it. Now, when I get to the rest of them, it's okay. Now I'm gonna screw you up just a little bit in what I'm saying. Okay. If you don't have any H1 tags and the first tag you have is an H2, can anybody tell me how many H2s we can have if we don't have an H1? The answer is 1. That's it. 1. And the reason you can only have 1 is because you do not have any H1s, so you can only have 1. Okay, so you understand what that is. Whatever's the top one, if I had no H1s and no H2s and I started with H3s, I can only have 1 H3. Does everybody understand what I'm doing when I do that? It's good job, Dwayne, getting that answer right. Okay. This says, how would you behave if radio stations were not competitive? To stay honest, I have always behaved as if MySpace is competitive because I'm scared of getting too. Yeah, you always have to. Radio stations are competitive because the thing is, internet radio stations are competing with podcasts now. So it's not a mystery. It's a competitive thing. It absolutely is competitive, and there's so many different choices out there. I mean, you could just be, I'm playing 60s music on my home thing. I'm a radio station. So yeah, you need to behave right and do that right. And then this says H1 means what? H1 means Dewey beats Truman, Astros win World Series. That's usually when you would use World War II, Japanese bomb Pearl Harbor.
It means the largest
Number
headline.
1 headers, huh?
Doesn't it mean the largest headline? And then they're all
The largest headline. That is what it is. I'm trying to give examples of what you would use when that's the proper use of that. So that's that story. So yes, it's the bigger the print, the more important. And Google reads that as, if you're going to make it an H1, you must think that's super, 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 super important. Okay, so that's where these all come from. So I stuck my SEO here. Let's see what else we got. And see, I may actually take this box off that talks about helping businesses pivot in a pandemic, because that really is not valid as much anymore. I have to decide what I want to do with that. I think I may just delete that entire row. I think I'm going to delete that entire row. I'm not going to do it tonight because I have to respace this row out. But I think I'm going to delete the pandemic stuff. I don't know. I'm kind of ambivalent, because we're national, and in some places the pandemic is one thing, and in other places the pandemic is something else. So Google's probably still on the pandemic train. I may leave it. You're going to see that disappear probably within the next month. All right. So John's fam says, if I missed it, please forgive me. But with one H1, how many H2s? Your competitors dictate the next ones down. So I know, remember I did the averages, right? So it was like 22, 15, 6, and 17. And if I took the averages, I should have about 19. My range should be between 17 and 22. All right. So my competitors are going to dictate what those next one downs are going to be. Okay. So we're going to keep coming down my page here. This is a national thing, so I don't want to do this. I don't want to touch that. All that code, I apologize. That's a long scroll. All right, it says, how do we do SEO? Blends, base, of Marys and hype. So I found another typo, by the way. Where other SEO companies may talk about traffic, we understand the Alyssa. Okay, where other Houston SEO companies may talk about traffic. Where other, yeah, let's stick it there. We understand traffic only starts with the process, blah, 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 blah. Okay, save. Okay, I'm going to save that, and you're going to see my number jumped up here. It's going to go to 9. Okay, it's still going to tell me I'm short, because what I think that what it's looking for is, I think it's going to be looking for at least a 0.7 or 8. So I got a long way to go. I at 2,500, I probably need at least 15. So we've got to get it in there a little bit extra in there. So, all right. So this one says, bit of a technical question. Can I place the text within an H1 tag, but then alter the size? Yes, that's what I'm going to do up here on these. I'm going to put them in an H3 tag, but knock them down to be the size of an H4. So yes, you can absolutely do that. So, I've seen this go by a couple times, so I don't want to throw anybody under the bus here, but I'm going to have to answer this just a little bit. I do not believe that Wix, Weebly, Squarespace, WordPress.com, Shopify give you the options that you need to be able to compete on this level. So you can do these things, and it is a good start. But when you need to compete for that number 1 spot, the pressure on a number 1 spot is enormous. So the lift of what you have to do to make this all work right becomes so extreme that these tools are not actually doing you any favors. So, because I saw somebody else say they're doing Wix web designs, and I don't want to throw anybody under a bus, but I'm very, if you wanted to rank on a brake repair shop or a hairdresser shop, and Google only looks at that as a 5-mile radius, yeah, you're okay. But I cannot put my website in Wix or Weebly or Squarespace and expect to compete with the SEO people. I cannot take I have an AV company that we work with for many years. I can't take that and put that in any of those and expect them to continue to rank well. So this is that concern, and that's a fine line on that. But those things there is a long-term detriment in structure, and Google knows that that's what those are, and they just don't rank them well. And you don't have to listen to me on that. Vistaprint, forget. anything. All right. So listen, anything that's point and click is pretty much not going to help you. Okay. Anything that, put a picture in, type a few words, hit update, and because you don't have the level of control, and you don't have control over the code. Okay. And the code matters as well. And Google knows what I built my website in, because we tell it. It knows that you built it. The other problem is this. If you look at, I saw one of you go by and you have a 7-page website. Google's not even going to pay attention to you until you get to 100 pages. And these builders do not allow you to put up enough pages to be able to compete. Because if you started to try to put up 100 pages in some of these things, your hosting cost is going to be through the roof. Some of them are limited to under 20 pages. Well, they don't take 20-page websites seriously. And these aren't my rules. These aren't my opinions. This just has been how they react and what they do. So I can't. All right, but I have to kind of speak in generalities that kind of give everybody to go in the right direction. By the way, you notice I'm up to 86 now. Yeah, self-hosted currently. That's the right answer. That's really working. WordPress, Google knows WordPress, and they're very favorable on it. And they have been for many, many years. And then also the amount of we'll come back to here too. This up here and how this works and how this has to be controlled is another whole aspect of this. I'm not doing navigation tonight. We've talked about that before, and we'll talk about it again. But this bar is extremely important, and you can't necessarily output this structure properly in some of these builder sites. So, I'm trying to give you guys, even if you do what I'm telling you to do, you're way ahead of everybody. But at the end of the day, there's the closest. Yes, I said, yes, you can pick yourself up off the floor. I just said you have to have 100 pages. But what I will tell you is this: when you make a blog page, there's 7 other pages that are created with it. Okay. So as a result, you rapidly can get up to that 100-page threshold just simply by using WordPress and the way it constructs your blog. So it's not as devastating as it sounds. But on the second, yeah, and I'm not going to get into a Wix's. I will tell you that you and I could have a context with Wix and put the same website in Wix and put the same website in WordPress, and that WordPress site will beat you every single time. Exactly the same link, same profile, same everything. They will pick the WordPress site every single time. So when I'm saying that, that's what I'm saying. But the thing is that you can't, there's some variations. If I have, some of yous are my competitors. If I had you guys, I'd be killing yous because you didn't even know to put a title tag on your page. So there is that. I mean, so these start to become what somebody else does and how it affects me. So I want everybody to kind of understand that. This question says, I'm new to WordPress. I'm using Elementor. I'm fine with you using Elementor. Just have at it. You can do everything you need with that. So you're good with that. And Google's starting to accept Elementor a lot more than they had in the past. So I'm good with Elementor. All right, so let's kind of keep coming down my page. So I have now got it up to 9, and if you notice, my on-screen score now is up to 86 on this page grader. But I'm still not good on this. This right here is the one that's got to get fixed for Houston SEO. Okay. So, but it up. Let's come on down here. We're going to go back to my text. I've worked it into this paragraph here. I ranked where other Houston SEO companies, I worked it into there. I'm looking for opportunities. So this one here, SEO company in Houston, do I want to give that up? And I'm going to say, yes, I am willing to give that up. This is one of the most overlooked parts of SEO and something that any other Houston SEO company. And actually, I'm saying Houston, but really pretty much in the country. Because technical SEO guys, and I'm going to say this again, I had a website, or I have a website that they're the equivalent of a Ferrari, except it's a Ferrari without an engine. It's a Ferrari without tires. It's a Ferrari without a steering wheel. The second I put tires on that and put even a makeshift steering wheel on that sucker, went from number 39 in 3 days to the first page of Google. So those of you that were asking when, you're really kind of, that one went very fast because it was a very strong site. Not all the time will that happen, but I would expect that if my changes were positive on everything that I've done here tonight, we should be probably by Monday or Tuesday back pretty solidly on the first page of Google again. Okay, so I'm going to say if I've pushed this well enough forward. Okay, so I added another one. I'm going to come back up to the top, and I'm still not right, but I'm at 36 and I'm still at 86 on my overall score. Okay. You could start the paragraph with Houston SEO 411 in content creation. Yeah, okay. All right, let's go down there and see if we can do that there. And break up the name. I can also do it here. See it, look it right here. I didn't even get down to where you're talking about. We'll go down there next. I'll probably do that. But look, here's another one. It says SEO 411 is providing Houston SEO services for over 20 years. Okay, so I just added it there just simply by flopping that around. Okay, so there's another one I just added. So I just added another. Let's see what that came up to. We're going to be at 11. We're almost to 0.4 here, kids. And we have the suggestion here from a vet. Let's come down here. You're saying, where the hell's the content piece? I don't see it. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Okay. All right, hold on a minute. So you're saying SEO could start the paragraph. Houston SEO. See, I don't know that the word, adding the word Houston at the very start of that sentence allows the rest of this sentence to stand right. So I can't just shove it there just because. All right, I see what you're saying. If I put the apostrophe on it, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's separate that out there. Let's see if that gave me a little bit. It didn't give me enough because of the apostrophe. So, but I'm going to leave it stand for the moment. All right, hold on a minute. Let's see how we do technical SEO. We did it over here. All right, let's see. I'm trying to make sure I get all your. I'm trying to make sure I get all your questions as I'm doing this. But as you see, I'm going through each of these paragraphs, and I'm actually going to. Ooh, that was bad. Oops. Ah, there it is. I was like, wait, come back. Effective web design, marketing, effective social media. I'm going to do what I did on that one above and stick leading out here, space. And I'm going to take it out here. And what I just did by doing it here, I'm going to actually end up, that's what that's going to do is put it in an H2 tag. So that's actually good. And let me do this. I just have to fix the color. Just give me a second. Because Zoom's on, the lag's been like, it's like giving me a lot of, let's do this. Okay, that puts that back to that. I'm going to save those changes. So now we should have that up to 12. And let's see if that moved our needle. See, now I got it to 12. You see our needle is at 91 now. So you see how I'm pushing this up, that's coming up. That's the only one now that's still a little bit off. By me optimizing, I'm tweaking this up. And little by little, I'm creeping that score up to be 90. Of course, the objective is to get to 100. I don't know that I'll get to 100, but that's that one. So let's see. Let me see if there's any others that jump out at me. I have it here. And I actually think we can add this in here. As well known throughout Houston for its educational classes. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to leave it there. We're going to stop right there. So I worked it in there, and let's see if that pumped it up enough to get it. Nope, it just gave me another little one. So we're up at 13. Remember I told you it needed to be at 15? And you see as I'm closing it in, that number's going up. So I added it there. So, but what I want you to walk away with is I have real clear objectives of what I wanted. And I know that I want Houston SEO, SEO Houston, web design Houston, Houston web design. There's certain objectives that I want on this page, and I have optimized this page to do that. So, and I actually think, and I'm going to show you one other thing that I did to the guy that was telling me about don't want clutter on the page, because I needed to up the word count. I actually took this and put it in the top 3 questions people ask SEO 411. Okay. And you can see when I'm teaching Houston SEO classes, we're often asked questions, right? So how can I tell if my company what I'm doing? I went in and hid them within this question and answer thing. Google can still see this, and it still knows it's here, even though it's hidden. All right. So I have used some design tricks to help stop some of this word clutter that has to be on every page. Okay. And I would encourage you to do things like this, put them in tabs, put them in ways that, that it's not as offensive to the end user that you see. So let's see. I'm trying to see if there's any opportunities here in all of this. They're not. We had a site that the previous Houston. Yeah, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put it here because the previous one was in Houston. I'm going to stick it there too. So that should have popped this up to 14 now. See it now, it's 14. I'm at 0.5, and you see that that arrow went to yellow now, and we are at 94. So you see, as I'm doing this, each and every one that I do, it's moving up and it's moving up and it's ticking up. I bet you if I get one more, we're going to be pretty darn close to it being at the no translucent, no hidden. What I didn't hide it the way you're saying. What I did is I put it in a rollout. So the text is visible on the page, the text is visible to Google, the text is visible to the end user. It just rolls out when you go to it on the page, okay? So it collapses and expands like an FAQ. Where the hell is it? Here it is. So see, when you hit that, what are the top? See how those are there? That text is there. Okay. And because it's there, I can roll them out and we can see exactly what those say. All right. What the translucent is, like literally something we used to do back in 1998 to fool a Boolean search thing. What I will tell you is I had a huge energy company's CMO said to me, why can't you just type the word Houston Electric Company in white all over our page? So you're not alone in that questioning. It's I've had some people that should know way better ask that question. Yes, my site is in WordPress. I will say it wasn't always in WordPress, but it has been in WordPress probably for about the last 7 years now. And it's done us very well. I cannot complain at how this website's worked, how it's performed. It really has done a great job. And honestly, for if I could do it any other way, I would. One other thing that I have here going on, and I did this on purpose because I want the homepage always changing. Now, some people would say you don't want it changing, but I want to send Google some signals that we add content to it. So I actually baked the Twitter feed into it, which really all it is a regurgitation of our blogs and the things that we put up. And the other thing I'm going to tell you is you see this gap here from February to June. We've been kind of a little on the busier side, and I haven't gotten to do as much as I wanted to on some of these. And I was noticing we were starting to go down in some of our rankings, and I was wondering why. And the second I added this one, it started to come right back out of it. So fresh content is extremely important. The other thing is, we did that class on podcasting. These links, I'm getting links out of Google for these podcasts. So just make sure that, if you have the ability or know how to do it, make sure that you get in there and you can do some of these videos and stuff like that, because baking these into the page helps the overall appearance of the page. So I'm going to be anxious to see. I'm going to hit publish here so this doesn't get lost. And I'm going to be anxious to see how this all does in the next, if it strengthens the page or if it weakens the page. You always run a risk when you do this that sometimes that page may be just a little bit weaker. But what I want you to understand is that how you have your paragraph structured, how you have your words on the page. If you notice, I've carried that Houston SEO all the way through the content. It's going all the way down to very bottom of the page. And the reason for that is because Google's looking, if I'm going to say we're Houston SEO, they want to see that I have that throughout the content and not just concentrated in the top half of it. So I have to be really careful with what I do. But the other thing is I bought myself some forgiveness by pulling our blogs into the front page. Because they understand that that's changing and they look for that to change. So there's a lot of different things that I do to make sure that these work. Now, I don't expect you guys to be perfect, but I will tell you, those of you that have given me those web pages, none of you even remotely were in the right ballpark. And again, that's not a slam on you. It's just, it shows me that even if you did a little bit, unless you're competing in a jewelry venue, I think you actually could pull yourself up into some of the right spots here to make this all work a little bit better. And I think that the stuff that you do and the way you do it is very important. If you started to go through the rest of the pages on this website, you'll notice that they have the same attributes. Now, if you get down into some of the older pages, you'll notice they don't have some of these same attributes. And the reason why is because they're older pages, they need to be there for links. But the problem is that I don't really want Google ranking those old pages. So what I did was I've not gone back in and re-optimized them. Now, some people will disagree with that philosophy, and I get that, but I also know that it really hasn't hurt me on my main objectives. Now, if I wanted to go rank on SEO nationally, which yeah, it would be great, but I don't have necessarily have the link equity to do that. On the other side of the page, I would probably need to do more of the internal pages and have them work together better. What if you do notice is that when you come to the next page that says SEO services, the word Houston is smack right again up in there. And the other thing is, here's Houston SEO in my page URL. So I'm ranking on Houston SEO on my home page, but I actually have a secondary page that I actually have a tertiary page that has the same attributes, because what I'm doing is sending the signal to Google that everything we do is Houston SEO. So understanding that that's how you assemble them, this is how this starts to pull this together and how this starts to make this all work. So with all of that said, I am coming to the end, and I need to know if anybody has a question on anything other than I don't like Wix and why I don't like it and why I don't like Squarespace and why I don't like Shopify. I'd like to keep the questions on this topic. So is there anybody that has those questions? I don't even know if Sandra's still here. Where'd you go, Sandra?
No, I'm still here.
All right.
I was
Okay.
just looking to try and pick the ones that fit your criteria.
Oh, you're trying to do it too. It's a gigantic jigsaw. I will tell you, the one thing I like about my job, it is a gigantic jigsaw puzzle to make this all go together. So if you like doing puzzles, SEO is a career choice for you. I'm going to tell you, because that literally is what I'm doing is I'm taking a bunch of words and a bunch of pieces and I'm putting them onto page together to make these all work and make this all work right. So one of this says adding a form to the website makes the SEO better. Well, yes and no. It can make the SEO better. It would add some credibility to the website. But if it's going to be a spammy form, it actually can hurt you. So you have to really make sure if you're going to do that, that you maintain it well and so on. Now this says, do I have a beginner's class? So the one thing that we have done with this internet marketing clinic is I have always done it that anybody can walk in. I've told everybody, if you come for 6 months, you'll finally understand what I'm talking about. Because I think every one of these kind of is a beginner's class, except that you probably need about listen to me for a bunch of different times, and then it'll all start to make sense and it'll all start to coalesce. So if you keep coming, because this is not a one and done type topic, this is a piling on topic, because it's all about a series of behaviors and how you work and how things work together. So we're teaching the behaviors on how to do this. And yes, I'm going to get this on YouTube. They're all everything that we do gets there at some point, because I also think I need it for my dog saying it's time to go too, by the way. But I think that these are important. And I think that there's pieces that if you miss something, I need to be able to give that back to you until we can come back around to that topic. The other thing is Google's always changing, and because they're always changing, we have to revisit these topics. Although I've never given the same class twice in 20 years, because I think those of you that are in the room help dictate how that goes and what happens with that. So There's also a podcast. So if you ever, you just want to listen to me drive back and forth to work, don't fall asleep at the wheel. But we do have a podcast too, if you want to use that as well. So there is that as well. Thank you for joining in today's Internet Marketing Clinic. We hope you enjoyed our program, and we will have more marketing information for you next week. Be sure to tune in. Thank you for joining in today's Internet Marketing Clinic. We hope you enjoyed our program, and we will have more marketing information for you next week. Be sure to tune in.